Zero is the most broken class in all of Maplestory. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's probably something that you're just saying as a clickbait title for me to click on the video. And I truly mean that. And I think this is the most broken class in all of Maplestory without question. It is so far ahead of every single class and on such another level versus every other class in this game that I don't even think it's a question at this point anymore that Zero is hands down the best class in all of Maplestory, and even might even be one of the best classes in all of Maplestory history. And the craziest part about it is nobody is actually talking about this class at all. About 8 months ago, you guys decided on what classes me and Joe were going to be making for our brand new Legion Champion classes. And well, to my benefit, I landed on Zero. And when I landed on Zero, I was a little bit upset, I'm not gonna lie. I thought this class was going to be very bad. I thought it was going to be very clunky, and I thought I was not going to enjoy this class at all. And well, 8 months later, here I am now making this video. And to my surprise, this is probably one of the most fun, most broken, and most enjoyable classes that I have ever played in my entire time of playing Maplestory. Now, in today's video, we're going to be going over exactly what I mean by why Zero is the most broken class in all of Maplestory, and we're going to be going over and covering a few things in this video. We're going to be covering the damage of this class, the support that this class gives, the movement that this class gives, and the overall survivability that this class has in its kit. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, and a lot of you guys have probably heard, well, Zero is hard to learn, it's clunky, it's hard to learn to combo, it's only a DPM class, and it's hard to get off a lot of its damage. And while some of these things are half-truths, they're not all entirely true. And in today's video, we're going to be going through all of that and debunking all the rumors that you may have heard about Zero. So first things first, let's talk about the damage of Zero. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Well, Zero is a super heavy DPM class, and it's very hard to get off a lot of its damage. And to your surprise, Zero is actually one of the strongest burst classes in the game. It actually has one of the strongest 35-second burst skills in the game, and alongside having one of the best bursts in the game, it has one of the best DPM kits in the entire game. This class it pumps damage the entire time. It's literally almost like you're bursting on this class consistently, and the damage pretty much never falls off. When I first made this class, I was a little bit turned off by how this class played because it didn't really feel like it had the strongest burst, but once you get used to this class, you realize that this class is just extremely strong and pretty much on another level compared to any other class that you have ever played. For those of you guys who do not know, Zero is a two-part class. It actually has alpha and beta, and while you are pressing about 5 to 6 skills consistently while you are doing DPM and bursting, it's not as difficult as some may make it seem. There's classes like Blaster, there's classes like Evan, where you kind of have to time certain skills properly to get off a ton of your damage. And while you do have to time skills with Zero, it is much easier to actually combo on this class versus almost any of the other classes that I have played. So if I were to rate this class's damage on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this class probably a 9.5 or even 10 out of 10. It is one of the strongest classes in the game with one of the best 35-second burst skills in the entire game as well. So if you're looking for a class that does provide a ton of damage, I would absolutely recommend Zero. So not only does this class have a ton of damage, but the support on this class is insane. To think that a class that is this strong, this overpowered, can have support as well, it's just mind-boggling to me. So the support that this class actually gives, and the major support that is really going to affect your party, is going to be a permanent 20 attack passive that you will get while being near a Zero, plus 1 attack speed, and a 50% IED debuff on the boss. And these are all permanent as well. And I know what you guys may be thinking, well, 20 attack and 50% ID, not that great when you're in a party with a bishop, but the fact that this class even gives any support at all is absolutely insane. I think it's around 4 to 5% final damage to party members. And not only is this class giving actual straight final damage to the party members themselves, but it is also giving a pseudo-like support known as the critical bind and shadow rain. So for those of you guys who do not know, this class is actually able to bind the boss, and it is able to reset these binds as well and constantly use them on the boss. So this class has 2 separate binds. One is going to be the critical bind, and then one of them is going to be the skill called Shadow Rain. Critical bind is going to be applied on the boss while in alpha form, and this is going to have an internal cooldown on the boss like any other bind will in the game. So once you critical bind the boss, there is going to be a bind timer shown on the boss's HP bar until you can critical bind this boss again. But the bind does not stop there, because it actually has a skill called Shadow Rain. Now, Shadow Rain is going to be an actual bind on the boss that will have 0 cooldown on the boss's HP bar, essentially allowing you to permanently bind the boss in a theoretical situation if you continuously reset Shadow Rain. The thing that makes Shadow Rain so overpowered is because it's actually a resettable and CD skippable skill. So if you use Shadow Rain, you can actually cooldown skip this skill with a 20% cooldown skip in your ability. And then if you also use your Shadow Rain, you can use some of Zero's skills to actually reset this bind again, essentially allowing you to potentially permanently bind the boss with 0 cooldown. And again, like I said, the fact that this class is even considered a support class is just disgusting. This class has no business being a support class whatsoever. The fact that it does offer support as well gives you another plus on the scale. So if I were to rate this class's support on a scale of 1 to 10, I would absolutely rate this class a 9 out of 10, if not a 10 out of 10. Now, obviously, the support given to party members themselves is only 4% final damage, but the Shadow Rains and the critical binds actually are such a huge amount of final damage, because it allows everybody to get their damage off consistently, that it just makes this support so broken and just so overpowered. It is insane. So let's move on to maybe more of a considered controversial topic about Zero, and we're going to be talking about the movement on this class. So contrary to popular belief, this class actually has some of the best snappy movement in the game. If you're a player that likes to be very aggressive on the boss, be able to make quick decisions and move out of very sketchy situations, this class is literally the class for you. Now, a lot of people think that this class has bad movement because you do get stuck in some of the animation combos, but you are able to animation cancel pretty much out of every single attack in Zero's kit. This class has a teleport. This class has a quick dash. This class has an air stalling mechanic as well. And not only does it have all these things, but all these things that it has is extremely quick and snappy. Like I said before, you can pretty much double TP out of any scenario. You can TP up and then TP to your right or left, and you can also do this going down and to the left or right as well. So it's pretty much like a 2-part TP that you can do, and this is just extremely good for greeting damage. Now, this is good in literally every single boss in the game. It's amazing in Kalos. It's absolutely broken in Saren. It's good in Lotus. It's good in literally every single boss in the game. The only boss that I would say that Zero does struggle a little bit in is going to be Black Mage, and that's just because you can't bind Black Mage, and you also cannot TP up out of the kick in P3. So it's a little bit more challenging to avoid attacks in Black Mage with this class, but because you are able to TP so quickly, it does help you a ton in P1, P2, and in P4. But like I said, the movement on this class, contrary to popular belief, is just absolutely insanely broken. And if you think it's bad, number one, you haven't played it, or number two, you just aren't used to the movement on this class and you just need to practice it a little bit more. But if I were to rate this class's movement, I would absolutely give it a 10 out of 10. No questions asked. 100% standing on business with giving this a 10 out of 10 on the movement. It is just insane. insane. If you haven't played it, like I said, you need to give this class a shot and play it. Like I said, I've never had more fun playing any other class in the game than Zero. So moving on from movement, we're going to now talk about the survivability of this class. A lot of people don't really give the credit where credit is due to Zero's survivability, and this class has incredible survivability, some of the best that I've ever played before. And I've played a ton of classes in Maplestory, but Zero, again, is just one of the best classes in literally every single avenue. The survivability is very, very good, and there's a few reasons why it's so good. Number one is because you have your alpha and beta. So essentially you have 2 HP bars, and you see this a ton come up when you first start playing this class, when you go into a boss like Hilo where you're not able to heal, but you're able to swap from alpha to beta, which has 2 separate HP bars. So essentially you already have 100% HP more than any other player in the game just off the get-go, and this helps greeting damage a ton because you're going to be a lot less likely to die having 2 HP bars versus 1. And again, going back to the movement that I just talked about, a class having amazing movement also correlates to it having amazing survivability because it allows you to get out of certain situations much easier than other classes that are a little bit slower and harder to make micro movements in bosses. Now, on top of all these other things that I mentioned about the class's survivability, is this class also has an overshield. This class has an overshield in only one of the modes, and that is going to be your alpha mode. That's the mode that actually is going to be doing a little bit more damage as well, and the slower of the two in terms of movement capabilities. I'm not entirely sure how this shield activates, to be completely honest with you, but as I've played this class, whenever you go, I think it's like you go below a certain threshold while attacking in alpha and you spawn in overshield on this mode, which again is just extremely good. And I noticed this a ton when I was in Saren, especially when I was getting gauged in Saren. When I was gauging in Saren, when I was in alpha mode, it was almost impossible for me to die because this overshield is just so strong. Now, on top of all these other things that I mentioned, this class does have a few iframes as well. The one iframe is actually going to be a part of your burst, so it's really not going to be considered a true iframe in my opinion, but nonetheless, it is still going to iframe you. And it's about a 1 second iframe, but the thing that makes this class survivability so freaking good is a skill called time holding. Now, this is pretty much essentially going to be a overpowered Genesis iframe. This pretty much gives you 15 seconds being in iframe where you can't get hit by anything. You're pretty much in Jenny iframe for 15 seconds. And not only are you in Jenny iframe for 15 seconds, but you're also getting 10% damage, and this is going to reset all of your resettable cooldowns on this class's kit, which just makes this class so freaking good as a pre-lib. And then once you actually liberate on this class, you're pretty much in iframe for almost 30 seconds, which is just absolutely insane for a class. And this just allows you to greed so much damage. And on top of all the survivability that I had just mentioned, this class also has its own self door. And the thing that's awesome about this self door is that you also get a 2 second iframe when this self door is triggered. So just another thing to add on to this class's survivability. So overall, with the survivability, I would also give this literally a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Like I said before, this is the best class in Maplestory right now, and I don't know why more people are not talking about how overpowered this class is. I think it's because people are turned off by the comboing, or they think it's more clunky than it really is. But when I tell you this is literally like the holy grail of Maplestory classes, like I truly mean that. If you are not playing this, or if you are potentially thinking of playing it, you need to give this class a shot. It really is that good. So we've now talked about a lot of things on this class, and over the last 8 months, I've learned a ton about this class myself, and I've had a ton of fun playing this class. So my overall rating on this class is pretty much gonna be a 9.5 out of 10. I don't think I'd give any class a 10 out of 10 if I'm being completely honest with you. If I was gonna give a class a perfect score, it absolutely would be 0. I mean, that's just how good this class is. But trying to be fair and non-biased, I would give this class a 9.5 out of 10, being the absolute best class in all of Maplestory. I've had a ton of fun making this entire series with the Zero, and I'm actually super happy that I was given this class as a Legion champion. I would have never thought I would have enjoyed playing a class as much as I've enjoyed playing Zero over the last 8 months. So like I said earlier, if you guys have not played this class, if you are potentially thinking of giving this class a shot, I 100% recommend that you play this class. It is absolutely amazing. It is so fun. It is broken. It does a ton of damage. The support is insane. Everything about this class is amazing. So if you are thinking of doing it, give it a shot. You will absolutely enjoy it. I promise you that. And that is going to wrap up the Hard Saren Legion champion. I'm probably going to push this class to a normal Kalos as well because it just is that fun. But overall, been a ton of fun making this series for the last 8 months. And yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video for today. And until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.